The night air felt colder than usual as Nathan Carter stepped out of his car and closed the door quietly, the echo bouncing across the nearly empty street. The yellow porch lights of the small houses lined along Willow Creek Drive in Ohio glowed softly against the darkness, but none of them felt warm tonight. Nathan loosened his tie and let out a tired breath. The date had gone fine, at least on the surface. They had laughed politely, shared a dessert, and promised to do this again sometime. But deep down, Nathan felt the same emptiness he had carried for months. Something about the evening had felt forced, like he was trying to convince himself that moving on was easier than it really was. As he walked toward his front door, he noticed the familiar creak of the wooden gate next door. His neighbor, Clara Whitmore, stepped onto her porch, holding a mug of tea the way she always did on quiet evenings. The porch light illuminated her thoughtful expression, and Nathan suddenly realized she had probably seen him arrive. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of love, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that sometimes the people who truly care about us are closer than we realize. Nathan tried to sound casual as he mentioned he had just come back from a date. It was the kind of thing people say without thinking, the kind of small talk that fills awkward silence. But Clara's reaction wasn't what he expected. She didn't smile politely or tease him the way neighbors often do. Instead, she looked at him for a long moment, her eyes reflecting something deeper than curiosity, something heavy. Then, in a quiet voice that carried across the still night, she told him something that would stay with him for the rest of his life. She said that the woman he had just gone out with didn't love him the way she did. At first, Nathan laughed nervously, assuming it was some kind of awkward joke. But Clara didn't laugh back. Her expression remained steady, almost vulnerable, like someone who had just opened a door they had kept locked for years. The silence between them stretched so long that Nathan suddenly felt uncomfortable standing there. Nathan had lived next door to Clara for almost 4 years. When he first moved into the small rental house after a painful breakup, she had been the first person to welcome him. She brought over homemade soup when she heard he had the flu. She watered his plants when he traveled for work. She even shoveled his driveway during a brutal winter storm when his car wouldn't start. But Nathan had always thought of her as just a kind neighbor, someone dependable, someone safe, someone who existed quietly in the background of his life. Now, standing under the soft glow of the porch lights, he realized something he had never allowed himself to consider. Clara had never dated anyone during the entire time he'd lived there. Nathan brushed off her words with an awkward smile that night, pretending he didn't fully understand what she meant. He said goodnight, stepped inside his house, and closed the door gently behind him. But the moment the latch clicked shut, Clara's words echoed in his mind. "She doesn't love you like I do." Nathan told himself it was ridiculous. Clara was just being emotional. Maybe she had a glass of wine. Maybe she was joking in some strange way. But the next morning, when Nathan stepped outside to grab his newspaper, he noticed Clara's porch was empty. No mug of tea, no soft humming while she watered her plants. And strangely, the street felt quieter than usual. Over the next few days, Nathan started noticing things he had never paid attention to before. The way Clara always waved when he came home late. The way she left a small bag of groceries on his porch during the pandemic, when stores were chaotic. The way she remembered his birthday even when he forgot it himself. It was as if 1,000 tiny memories had suddenly rearranged themselves into a picture he had been too blind to see. Nathan began replaying every conversation they'd ever had, every laugh they'd shared over the fence, every quiet moment when she had simply listened while he vented about work, relationships, or life. And for the first time he realized something painful. Clara had been there through everything, but he had never really been there for her. One evening a week later, Nathan noticed Clara struggling to carry a heavy box up her porch steps. Without thinking, he walked over to help. She thanked him politely, but something about her tone felt distant, like a door that had quietly closed. Inside the box were old photo frames and books. As Nathan set it down, he noticed one photograph slip out and fall onto the porch floor. It showed Clara standing beside a younger Nathan at a neighborhood barbecue 3 years earlier. They were laughing, holding paper plates, the summer sun glowing behind them. Nathan realized he didn't even remember that moment, but Clara had kept the picture. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. For the first time in months, he thought about love not as fireworks or perfect dates, but as something quieter, something patient, something that stays even when no one notices. He remembered the way Clara had looked at him that night. Not with jealousy, not with anger, but with honesty. And suddenly, Nathan understood why his date had felt so empty. Because the person who truly cared about him had been living 10 steps away the entire time. The next evening, Nathan walked over to Clara's house with a nervous knot in his stomach. The porch light was on again, and she sat in the same wooden chair holding her mug of tea. For a moment, Nathan almost turned back, but then he remembered the photograph, the quiet years of kindness, and the courage it must have taken for her to say those words. He sat down beside her and apologized. Not with dramatic speeches, but with quiet sincerity. He told her he had been blind, that he had spent so much time chasing relationships that looked perfect on the outside, that he had ignored the one person who had never stopped caring. Clara didn't answer immediately. She simply looked out at the quiet street, the same way she had done 100 evenings before. Then she smiled softly. It wasn't the triumphant smile of someone who had won. It was the gentle smile of someone who had simply told the truth and waited to see what would happen. Nathan felt something inside him shift that night. Not a sudden romantic spark, not a movie-style moment of instant love, but something deeper, understanding, respect, and the slow beginning of something real. Weeks passed, and Nathan found himself spending more evenings on Clara's porch. They talked about childhood, memories, dreams they had given up on, and the strange ways life sometimes brings people together at the right moment. Nathan realized that love wasn't always loud. Sometimes, it was the quiet neighbor who had been there all along. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in real love, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach people who might need them tonight. Months later, on a warm spring evening, Nathan and Clara sat on the same porch again, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. The street was peaceful, and the air carried the scent of blooming flowers. Nathan thought about the night he had come home from that forgettable date. If Clara hadn't said those words, he might still be searching for love in the wrong places. But sometimes life gives us a quiet wake-up call. And sometimes, the bravest thing someone can do is simply tell the truth about how they feel. Before the story ends, here's a special request. Comment below and tell us, have you ever realized someone loved you only after it was almost too late? Nathan